Hello, you beautiful humans. I'm gonna do the live today with a bare face because we're talking about SPF. And by the way, it is the most anti-aging product you can possibly buy. It really is. But I want to put on the different sunscreens that I wear so you can kind of see how they go on. I like things a lot more sheer. I will talk about some that are more of like a foundation, a little bit more coverage. But yeah, let's dive into it. So today we're going to be talking about SPF, about sunscreens. Sunscreens are super important. Like I can't even express to you how important they are, especially for people who are lighter skin, anything from like a Fitzpatrick 1 to a Fitzpatrick like 4. And 4 is going to be more of like your Asian populations, your Hispanic populations, your like there's definitely, they have their ranges too. Like there's definitely Fitzpatrick's 5 in some of those categories, but a lot, particularly like Korean, Japanese, Chinese, like 0 through like completely transparent through like Fitzpatrick 4 is what they call them. Okay. We're on the wrong part, like, especially with like, we're here in the United States, we're on the wrong part of the planet. There's a reason why Indigenous and Native Americans were Fitzpatrick's 4s and 5s. Okay. They're built more for this sun exposure. We're not. White people are completely on the wrong part of the planet. This is not where we were intended. This is not where we belong. We actually have just as many melanocytes. So every human being has the same amount of melanocytes. Melanocytes are the cell that create the pigment that cause you to tan and have more pigmentation in your tissues. We have the exact same amount. Ours just aren't turned on. Why? They weren't turned on because that's not part of the planet that our genetics and DNA were being developed and created. So it is essential that we wear SPF, not just because you don't want to burn, but the UVAs age you. They make you old. So you've got UVA and UVB rays, and UVB rays are the heat, the warmth, the goodness. They're also the ones that will majorly make you tan and easily burn. UVB burn. UVAs also allow you to tan a little bit, but they are more what is going to break down your collagen and elastin. It's the light. So UVAs are light, UVBs are heat. The UVAs make you old. They make you old. They break down your skin's collagen. They break down your skin's elastin. And once you get to the age of 23, your body actually is not producing as much collagen and elastin that it needs to. Like if you're at peak performance, you max out at 23. And then at 24, 99%, 25, 98%. So each year you get older, the amount of collagen and elastin your body produces goes down by 1%. It's why you really see the signs of aging between the population of 40 and 50. Like, yes, in your 50s, you still age. Yes, in your 60s, you still age. Yes, in your 70s, like, but you also get to a point where, you know, somebody could be 80 or 105 and you literally can't tell a difference because you can only, you can only get so old, I think, right? But your collagen is what we need to protect the most. And the thing that damages it the worst is light rays. So that's why estheticians or any type of skincare professional is always going to tell you, you have to wear sunscreens, even in the wintertime, even when the sun's not out. Like this ring light, because I don't have my sunscreens on yet, it's breaking down my collagen and elastin. Halogen light bulbs are actually the worst. So wear your sunscreen, wear your sunscreen, wear your sunscreen. Now, when it comes to percentages, the lighter you are, kind of the stronger SPF you need, whereas the darker you are, you don't need as much sun protection. And the reason why is there's 2 different type of melanocyte cells. There's the red brown cells, which are what people are from Fitz like 1 to 4, and it's a mix in Fitz 5s. And then there's another melanocyte that is a blue-black color, and that's going to be found in your 5 and 6 populations. Like people who are the most deepest, darkest, blackest of black, they have like pure blue and black melanocytes. It's why their skin literally can, in different lights, look blue. It's because that's what the melanocyte is a blue-black color. So in regards to those, the red and brown melanocytes, those are the ones that get all the very easily acquired cancers, sun cancers, skin cancers. It's your body ways of telling you like, hey, wake the flock up. This is damaging your flipping skin. And if you're not going to listen to me, I'm just going to give you cancer because that's going to scare you. So you're going to stay out of the sun. When you get a sunburn, if you get a sunburn over that sunburn, so like not twice in your life, but let's say I go one summer and I get a sunburn on my shoulder. And before that sunburn can heal, I burn it again and I double crispy fry it. They say there's a 50% chance you could possibly get skin cancer in that area. It's no joke. Wear your sunscreen. I really, really wish I would have worn it more on my arms when I was younger, because now I'm 43 and I'm starting to get the age spots. Like, yes, this is a mole, but like I'm starting to see all this pigment up here. This is like from having like bumps or marks. So because of my ADHD, I tend to like stem by picking myself. I used to bite my nails like crazy when I was a kid. I still chew around the skin. It's something I'm working on in my EMDR trauma therapy right now. Any type of anything, I would just kind of pick at it. So this is all like post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation marks that I picked at, and then the sun hit them when they were red, and they eventually went away. I haven't seen these in like 20, 30 years. But now that I'm 43, they're coming out. So really, truly wear your sunscreen. It's not just about your face and your chest anymore. It's not like, stop wanting to be tan. It's not cool. I know you look amazing when you're younger and in your 20s and you have that tan skin and it's gorgeous and beautiful. But I'm telling you, you pay for it. You pay for it. You pay for it. You pay for it. When you hit 40s, 50s, and 60s, you would have traded those tan days to have your other skin back. The skin does weird things. Like if you get online and look up photos, or even the other day I was watching that Inventing Anna show, and one of the lawyer guys, he goes to get out of bed, and you know, this is a guy like in his late 40s, early 50s. His whole back is covered in moles. Like your skin does crazy shit. When you get older, you get all these funky growths, you get all these things. And so don't give your skin an excuse. Wear your sunscreen. With that being said, the skin cancers. I rambled, I apologize. Okay, so the skin cancers. There's a lot more skin cancers you get with the red, brown melanocytes. With the blue-black, you do not have the highest chance. So there is a cancer that they do get, but it's very rare. And it's, as I understand it, it's not even induced by the sun. But we're talking about Fitzpatrick 6, okay? Anything that's 5 or below has a certain amount of the blue, of the red-brown. So what I tend to, like kind of the standard practice that I tend to follow, you don't say rule of thumb anymore, because rule of thumb means that you could beat your wife with a stick as long as it was your thumb size or smaller. So stop saying rule of thumb. We don't want to say that anymore. So the standard practice is if you're higher Fitzpatrick, you don't need quite as much sun protection. So I'd say like people who are like a 4 and above, like even I tend to be conservative, so I would even kind of pull those 4s out. But like 5s and above, like 25 or less. You don't need SPF 30s. You don't need SPF 45s. You don't. And the issue is you really do need to do natural sunscreens. And that's going to leave a white cast. That's the bummer with sunscreens, is the natural ones that work. Because so sunscreens work in 2 ways. You have your chemical sunscreens, which absorb into your skin. And then what they do is they actually hold the heat. They hold the sun's rays. And then that ingredient oxidizes. Your body ends up absorbing it into its system. And then that's why you have to keep reapplying, because the SPF that's on you has oxidized because it's absorbed all the rays that it can, okay? Then there's the natural ones, and the natural ones are basically crushed up minerals that act like mirrors that bounce the sun off your skin. Zinc is absolutely king. Titanium dioxide, I think, is a great supportive ingredient, but you should never use it solely on its own. You really need the zinc. Zinc leaves a white cast on darker skin. It just does. So you can go lower. Once you get to your Fitzpatrick's, like your Fitzpatrick's 5 and below, and more like on the lighter side of Fitzpatrick's 5s, or 4s, I'm sorry, 4s and below, then you're looking at like your 30s, 40s, 50s. According to the FDA, they did regulate sunscreen. Sunscreen cannot be sold on the market, anything above an SPF 50. If it is a 50, it's always going to be more like under a medical line. But the reason why they regulate it is because there's hardly a difference. So at like 15% SPF, you're getting at like a 93% sun filtration. At SPF 20, you're getting or is it SPF 25? It jumps to, like, you get between 15 and 20, you literally get like 2 to 3% more. It's very minimal. So let's say it's 3% more. So now you're at like 95% sun protection. So once you get above 50, 60, the decimals just keep going down. So like the difference between a 50 and a 75 is less than 1%. So that's why the FDA regulated it, because they felt like the marketing practices were very manipulative to people, making them think that 75 was so much better than 50. And if you notice, the higher SPFs, they're expensive. SPF is expensive. Whether you get the chemical form or the mineral form, it is hard to find a cheap SPF. So the other thing with chemical sunscreens is if you have pigmentation issues, they are going to make your pigment worse, because there's two things that cause the pigment. There's the actual sun exposure, the UVA, UVB, but then there's also just heat. So even if you're out in the sun, under an umbrella, with a hat on, with sunglasses on, if it's 90, 95 degrees outside, you could start to darken some of the pigment that's deeper down in your tissues, and they're starting to come up, okay? So chemical sunscreens, because that's how they work, is they retain heat, they absorb the rays. You really want to do physical, because the physical, also known as natural, again, bounces the rays off. So I talked about how the chemical sunscreen works and why you have to constantly reapply it. It's also why you have to put it on 30 minutes before sun exposure, because it doesn't work until it is absorbed into your tissues. Like your skin has to absorb the chemical sunscreen. It does not sit on top like petroleum products, they say, and silicone, where they just consider it inert and it stays on the top. The chemical sunscreens have to absorb in for them to work. So you put it on 30 minutes before sun exposure, and then again right before you go in, and then you're supposed to reapply every 2 hours. And the reason why, it oxidizes. With chemical, the reason why you have to reapply it, because it will sweat off, rub off, blow off in the wind, wiped off, like any type of mechanicalness to your body is going to cause those minerals to kind of like start flaking away. So because of that, I tend to put multiple layers of sunscreen on. So in the wintertime, I don't. In the wintertime, I mainly just wear like one coat of sunscreen. But if I know I'm going to be going like on a hike, and like we get snow here in Central Oregon. So if I was going on a hike or it was a nice sunny day, I'm going to put 2 layers on, and I'm going to wear a hat. And in the summertime, I always put 2 layers on. Lots of times 3 in the summer. Have I gone crazy since I've gotten older? Yeah. The thing that is the hardest to work on in your skin is the fucking pigment. Like as your skincare auntie, the best skincare advice I can possibly give you is you need to not let the sun touch your skin, and ideally, and you use the lighteners and brighteners to keep pigment protected. The reason I choose lighteners and brighteners out of all of their ingredients, because so many of those lighteners and brighteners are, they are antioxidants. They are vitamins. There's like other things in them that are really fantastic, like, ferulic acid and niacinamide. Like those are both tyrosinase inhibitors. They help prevent pigment from forming. Like they also have all these other skin benefits, like gluconolactone. So because of that, that's if I choose any ingredient besides sunscreen, is lighteners and brighteners. Keep your face protected. Is there a sunscreen you recommend for easy whole body? So yeah, I'm going to go into all these right now. My trip is fantastic. Thank you, Annika. Okay, so I put multiple layers on. These are all so my biggest complaint, okay? I actually don't like chemical sunscreens. I can't stand the way they smell. Oxybenzone and avobenzone are the 2 worst. The other thing with those sunscreens is that like avobenzone only lasts for 15 minutes, and then the oxybenzone only lasts for 30 minutes. Oxybenzone does get built up in the body, and you never can actually get it out. It never detox. So if you use oxybenzone like in your 20s and then you never touch it again, when you're 80 years old and you take a pee test, they're going to find oxybenzone in there, okay? It like stays with you forever. They also quit working if they're introduced to minerals. So that's the other issue, is that you can be using sunscreens and then you put mineral makeup over the top, which so many of us use now, and it's going to make avobenzone and oxybenzone they no longer will work. That's why in the line L to MD, besides the fact that the 2 most toxic of the chemical sunscreens, they never use them, because the whole thing with L to MD is they put zinc in everything, because zinc is king. So L to MD is a SPF line that you're going to find more in medical offices and doctor's offices. It has a really fantastic price point. I think I think they were really brilliant in their price point on that product. It's a cost-effective, good sunscreen. Of course, my issue is I don't use chemical. And the majority of theirs are chemical, with zinc in all of them. And there's only a few that are just zinc. And then some of them have silicone, and you know how I feel about silicone. So this person is asking, so my kid's pediatrician told me not to put sunscreen on them since their skin is darker and they have a hard time absorbing vitamin D. Do you agree? I totally disagree. Let your kids go out and be in the sun. That's the thing. It is a sun filter. The sun is still getting in. The best tans I've ever had in my life before my skin started looking more old and now I don't even want to get a tan anymore was the tans I got from putting sunscreen on. The sunscreens allow you to stay in the sun longer. That's the whole reason that you wear them, is so you don't burn, so you can stay outside longer. So they absolutely will get it. Plus, we do not live like we used to live. We're automatically not going to get enough vitamin D. So you're going to really have to supplement D3 drops anyway. There's not really any way around it. Like, I don't care if your kids run outside all day with sunscreen or no sunscreen on. They literally, like, it's not enough. Like, you're going to... We don't live in caves anymore. That's kind of how my thing is. I think it's horrible when a pediatrician says don't put... No, do I think you should be putting the chemical sunscreen on the kids? No. The kids definitely need the physical. But no, they have to wear sunscreen. Like, no. That's great that the kids are darker. But see, the thing... So look at it like this. A tan is a sign of sun damage. Period. Freckles, they'll even tell you. Like, when your freckles kick up, they'll even say that that's literally like an indicator for the fact that you're getting too much sun exposure. Now, my sister, who's a Fitzpatrick 2, she's a redhead with blue eyes, she'll beg to differ. Like, she's the one that really got me to understand, no, it's the heat. Like, she's like, I will protect my skin under all costs. She's also the type of blue-eyed redhead where she cannot be in the sun from like noon to 4. Like, when it's at its high point, she will get sun poisoning. She will get sick. She just can't really be outside. In like the direct sun at those times. She's like, straight up, the heat will darken my freckles. But a tan is a sign of sun damage. So I know that we love that we get darker in the summer. I mean, we all love it. I'm telling you, when you get older, like, I'm at the point now where I'm buying bathing suits that are like bikini or thong bottoms, and then they're literally like a t-shirt top that has like sleeves, and some have long sleeves. Like, I no longer want sun to touch this. Like, I want to be able to go outside and float the river, enjoy my time. My legs, I'm not too worried about, but I'm getting spots on my arms. So, X-nay on the sun, on the whitey-o, lady-o, okay? All right, so the sunscreens that I like to use for my face, the very first one is Biossance. I do not sell this one. You can get it at Sephora, or the Biossance's website. It's a zinc squalane SPF 30. The reason I love it so much is because it is so sheer. It goes on so light, and I can put multiple layers of it on. I go right into the hairline, and you don't feel like you're wearing sunscreen. It's not heavy at all. So I have, like, for the last 5 years, I'd say 6 years, been so much better at putting sunscreen on my chest as a part of getting ready for the day. But now, like, I wish I would have done that to my arms. So I would not use this on my arms. It's just not cost effective. There'll be different ones I use on my arms. So I put a layer of that on. I'm going to put another layer on just to go show you guys. Okay, so my favorite ones that I actually do sell. So my whole thing with a facial SPFs, they have to be cosmetically pleasing to work with. I have to enjoy them going on. They have to blend in nicely. Like, I don't like products that you really have to work with. Sunscreen just needs to go in. And it's this line, Suntegrity. It is aloe vera based. I'm sorry, Christian, you're not going to be able to use this one. It is aloe vera based. This 5-in-1 is more for normal to drier skin. It is a tinted sunscreen. It's an SPF 30. That's the other thing with natural SPFs. It's really hard to get them above a 30. You sometimes can find them 45, 50, but I've never seen them that high without like other junk ingredients in them to make them go on better. The next one is their Impeccable. This is considered like a tinted moisturizer. This one's considered a foundation. It has a little bit more of a matting effect, like it's a foundation. This one's 45, this one's 55. The other ones I like that I recommend to people, okay, so I'm going to put another layer of this Biossance on so you can just see how easily and nicely it goes into the skin. So again, you want like a teaspoon amount. It's quite a lot. Maybe it's a half teaspoon. Crap, I should have looked that up. Especially because I pull it down my neck, my face. If you have an SPF 30, but you put it on really thin, so that's the thing with makeups, you kind of have to cut it in half because you put them on thin, and so you're not getting the full SPF 30. Like, I'm pretty sure it's a half teaspoon for the whole face. So I just put a little bit more than that on my neck and chest, like spread it out to here. So I probably now am like an SPF 30. Okay, you really got to pay attention to that. You have to put enough on. So if you put multiple layers on it, it's like, looks, you like don't like the way it's looking, it's like way too makeupy, it's got too much stuff going on. You're like, I'm telling you, get this stuff. Get this stuff. It's amazing, okay? It just goes on so easy. It's so thin. Okay, so now I want to put on my 501. This is the old packaging. This is the one I wear. I wear Golden Light. So I did 2 pumps. And this is just going to go on my face. And I just use my hands. I treat it like skincare. I don't treat it like makeup. Around my nose ring. You can see it just blends in really nicely. And before we started, I actually just had heavier on my face because I got too excited with the Bakuchiel Complete and I kind of over exfoliated my forehead, so I got to back off. Like, it is interesting how your skin changes in your 40s. Like, things, like I thought, like I'm just using such a 0.5, right? Like, it's not even that strong of a retinoid, and it's acting like I use like 1%. Okay. So that's the 5-in-1. All right. Another one I tell people about is the Ilia. This is their Super Serum Skin Tint. It's an SPF 40. But again, you're not putting that much on. Okay, you're not putting a half teaspoon of this on like it's made. Like, this is straight up makeup. For me, for sure. For me, it's makeup. So with this one, I'll put it on a brush. And typically, I just wear the tinted. But if I'm wanting extra SPF, I will layer this on. So now I've got basically like 4 coats of sunscreen. As one kind of blows off, the other one's still kind of there. I think it's not always realistic to tell people to, oh, reapply your facial sunscreen throughout the day. Like, I got blush on. I got other things on. I've got like... And the spray-ons, I really haven't found a spray-on that I really like. Zinc It Over, I just don't... It doesn't have nice schlip to it. I feel like it's kind of a rougher, harsher product. Cosmetics used to have a beautiful one. They had to recently change it due to some labeling laws in Australia. They took away an ingredient or something. I can't remember. But the stuff they replaced it with is just not as good. And it was just a titanium dioxide. So that's the thing. Zinc and titanium are both fantastic. Okay? They're both fantastic SPFs. They're the only natural ones there are. But zinc is king. And zinc and titanium are fantastic together. But titanium on its own, only if it's like your second or third SPF, I would never rely on it solely and fully. The thing is they both are full spectrum. They both cover the same full spectrums of light. But zinc is like in the green zone for like this much of it. And titanium is like in the green, like the best level for like this much of it. So you're getting a lot more rays that are not as heavily filtered. And so that's the other thing. The reason why when you see SPFs, you never see just one chemical sunscreen. It's always a combination. It's because the different chemical sunscreens hit different spectrum of light. So they have to use multiple ingredients to get the full range. Whereas zinc is everything. Zinc's all of it. So zinc. The problem is that makes it harder for the darker populations. Also remember though that with zinc, people think of like, oh, nano zinc, we shouldn't be using nano zinc. Okay, so I fully agree about some nano ingredients. They're tiny, they get in the bloodstream, okay? But most humans are deficient in zinc. Like the majority of us are deficient in zinc. So if I'm using a sunscreen that's actually giving me like a topical dose of zinc that's getting into my body and helping me nutritionally, you know how hippy dippy I am? I don't think there's anything wrong with nano zinc. I absolutely do not. I encourage it in some formulations because it does work as a nutritional supplement. Okay, so the last one I did was this Ilia. So this is a super serum. It's an SPF 40. It comes in a ton of shades and it's a dropper. Okay, so because of how thick I put it on, I kind of count this as a 20, even though it's a 40. And then again, the first one I put on was the Biossance. And then of the two Suntegrities, I used this 5-in-1. The other thing that I'll even use is, let me look at it's in my thing from the Hot Springs. Hold on. So I do have this Skin Better Science Compact SPF 65. She does have silicone and parabens, and not paraben. Oh, no. She does have silicone and pegs in her. So I use her more as like my specialty SPF. So like if I'm going to go float the river, I know you guys may think I'm kind of crazy. I wouldn't have put the Ilia one on, but I would have put the Biossance one on. I would have put the 5-in-1 on, and then I would have stuck this over the top of it. I literally need all the help I can get when it comes to the face if you don't want to be reversing pigment later. So that's this guy. And I finished with this because it seals more because it has the petroleum and the silicone. But it's called a True Tone Match. It only comes in one color. And it really does match everybody. A Fits 5, it's not going to work for a Fits 6. But a Fits 6 does not need SPF 65. So the Biossance you can get from Sephora or their Biossance website. The Suntegrity products, and there's also this compact I like. These you can get from my website. This is just a translucent powder, but it's an SPF 50. And then the Ilia is also Sephora. You can also get it at Credo Beauty. And then the Skin Better Science I get from Crafted in Spokane. You have to get it from a medical office, and it's a newer medical line. So there's not a ton of practices that have it. But I will say for a medical line, like some of the medical lines are really dirty. They're not clean ingredients. They're not even really healthy ingredients. Skin Better Science is the cleanest of all of them. Like they do use petroleum and silicone, but when you look the ingredients up on the toxicity lists, they do all have numbers where they basically acknowledge the fact that like, hey, we don't think anything goes into the skin. This is inert. It just sits on the top. The molecule's too big. My whole thing is that when the sun hits it and breaks it down, it's got to be leaching something, like just like plastic leaches stuff, right? When plastic gets into stuff, that's why they tell you not to drink water out of water bottles that's been sitting in the sun. So when the sun hits my face with petroleum, not this one because this one's just powder, with petroleum and silicone, I do think it leaches things in the skin, but there's no proof of that. So that's why I tend to keep products like that. Like I use it as my last product. It's not really part of my skincare routine. It's a specialty product. And I would rather expose myself to possibly maybe something that's not super healthy for me than get pigment. Like, it's not a chemical sunscreen. It's all zinc and titanium dioxide. All right. So that's where I get them from. Does anybody have any other questions before I let you go about sunscreens, why you need to wear them? Other brand, those are mainly the ones, for the body. So the ones I found that I like for the body is the body I think is harder, because they tend to get more chalky and they're not as like fluid and nice to put on. I do like Sunbum's Mineral Body SPF. I think it's a 30. I do always, so I'll tell you in a second. And then I also like Pacifica, particularly this pineapple flower, but then also the blood orange. Not the ones with sparkle in them, not the ones with like color in them, but just the SPFs. You do want to shake the tube really good before you use it, because that's the other thing with natural sunscreens. They tend to separate because it's minerals. They're trying to force water and oil to stick to minerals. And the trick is to actually cover your body in lotion or cream first. So put a little bit of body oil on, put a little bit of lotion on. I'm a big body butter fan. Put that on and then put the SPF over the top. It's going to glide on and go on a lot better. The other one I absolutely love is the one from my website, iSun. It's the Sun Butter. Where's some of my Sun Butter? I love that one, but it is butters and minerals. So you do kind of see it on the skin. Like anybody who's like anybody a 4 or darker is not going to really like this on their skin. Where is my sun butter? But the sun butter is fantastic. I'll show it to you guys some other time. But it, like you can see it. That's what I like about it. Like when you put it on, you can be like, okay, I have sunscreen there. I can see the light reflecting off the minerals. Yes. Does anybody have any more questions? So could you explain about layering SPF? Okay. If using SPF 40, then using makeup with SPF 15, it doesn't mean it's not a 55. So you don't get to add them together. You just don't. You don't get to go like I have a 20 and a 15, so I have an SPF 35. You have a layer of a 20 and you have a layer of a 15. It has to do, I don't know why it doesn't build on itself. It doesn't make sense, especially like with minerals. Like it's not a chemical formulation, right? Like it's just like, here's the percentage of minerals and here's the product. So why when it's higher does it not? I think the reason why a lot of skincare companies have not been able to get above an SPF 30 on their natural products is they can't get that much on the skin and it not really start to show up. And that's the thing I like about layering them, besides this one, because it never shows up. When you layer them with different brands, it doesn't build up in the same way. I honestly, like now that you have me thinking, damn it, I don't know why it's like that, but they've always said you can't add them. You can layer. And the reason I layer them is because they quit working and they also rub off. So if you're using chemical ones, the ingredient eventually oxidizes and you got to put more on. And if you're using the mineral ones through any type of activity, sweating, rubbing, water, all that kind of stuff, that's going to wash them off. So you got to like reapply them. And then with makeup, the reason why you want to cut it in half is because you don't put it on as thick. So no one's really putting on a half teaspoon of like usually we put our foundations on like more thin, right? So it's always been taught that with makeup, it needs to be cut in half. So if you have a foundation that says it's an SPF 30, it's really only an SPF 15. I'm hoping I answered your question. What do you think about the line? So Color Science is another well-known SPF line, as you know. I think they're expensive for their ingredients are. Like they try to come across as a clean company, but they're not. They do use a lot. I think they're all mineral sun-based, right? Like I don't think they're using any of the chemical sunscreens, but they use a lot of PEGs and silicones. Like their formulations aren't green at all. So there's a difference between clean and green. And it's really kind of manipulative, but green basically means that like the ingredients are like from the earth. They're going to be more healthy for your skin. Like your body recognizes them because like they're more, they're natural. Whereas clean can mean I have petroleum and silicone in the product, but we have studies to show that it doesn't like go into the skin. It's an inert ingredient, it just sits on the top. So therefore it's not bad or toxic for your skin. And that's what kind of falls into the clean category. So that's kind of how Skin Better Science is as well. Their actives and everything are really phenomenal, but their fillers are PEGs and silicones because it's more from a medical standpoint. Same with Skin Color Science. I feel for the price, like when you use petroleum and silicone in your products, it does definitely serve a function, like in glidability and things like that, but they're also cheap as shit. Like they're such inexpensive fillers. There's no, like, give me some aloe vera. It obviously isn't hard because the first ingredient in this Suntagrity's products in the Impeccable and the 5-in-1 is aloe vera. Now they do make a clear face one, but it's thicker. Once you get it worked in, it melts in just fine, but I don't like how you have to work so hard to get it to melt in. I like a nice, glidey, thin SPF. I don't like these SPFs that I literally feel like you have to buff into your face. And that's why I don't even sell their clear one. Honestly, this is a better recommendation. And I know I can't make money on it, but it's the better sunscreen, period. You're so very welcome. All right. Does anybody have any more questions before I let you go? I'm just using the Lily Fox. I got this from Crafted Beauty too. I love Neroli, which is also known as Orange Blossom. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope I helped you out a little bit. Message me if you have any questions. Mwah. Light and love to you all.